My name is Emily Carter, and the day I died began like any other. A perfect illusion of normalcy hiding the storm that was about to come. If someone had told me that this would be the day my life would end, I wouldn't have believed them. I might have laughed it off and said I had plans, a shift at the hospital, things I still needed to do. But life, as I've learned, rarely gives us warnings before it changes forever. It was a crisp autumn morning, the kind that wakes your senses with the earthy smell of fallen leaves and the faint, comforting tang of wood smoke in the air. The trees lining my street had turned a riot of colors, fiery reds, golden yellows, and burnt oranges. It should have been beautiful. Instead, I woke up with a strange weight in my chest. It wasn't fear exactly, but a kind of gnawing unease, like a whisper I couldn't quite hear. I brushed it off as stress. My job as a nurse had been particularly grueling lately. The long hours, the endless stream of patients needing care, and the weight of being the person who had to stay calm no matter what, it was all taking its toll. I was tired, bone-deep tired, and I didn't have the time to entertain odd feelings. So I fell into my usual routine. Coffee first. A necessity, not a luxury. The bitter warmth helped chase away the fog in my head. A quick shower to wake up my body. A glance at my phone to check the time and weather. I had exactly 20 minutes to get to work, which meant there was no time for breakfast, but that was nothing new. Rushing out the door, I grabbed my keys, slung my bag over my shoulder, and slid into my car. The unease hadn't left me. It clung to me like a second skin. I turned on the radio, hoping some music might distract me, but every song felt too loud, too grating. I settled for silence. The roads were slick from the rain that had fallen overnight, the kind of rain that left a faint sheen of water on everything and made the world look freshly washed. The sky was a dull, heavy gray, the sun hidden behind thick clouds that threatened more rain. As I drove, my mind kept drifting, 1,000 thoughts swirling like leaves caught in the wind. I thought about the patients waiting for me at the hospital. I thought about the friends I hadn't called in weeks. I thought about my family scattered across the country, and how long it had been since we'd all been together. And then it happened. I rounded a curve in the road and saw the headlights of an oncoming truck, bright, glaring, and moving too fast. It had swerved into my lane, a massive beast of metal hurtling toward me. My heart seized in my chest, a surge of adrenaline flooding my veins. I slammed on my brakes. The tires screeched against the wet pavement, a sound that seemed to tear through the air. Time slowed, each second stretching into eternity. The crash was deafening, an explosion of sound and force. Metal crumpled like paper. Glass shattered, a spray of glittering shards. Pain erupted through my body, sharp and blinding. And then silence. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in my car. I wasn't anywhere. At least not anywhere I recognized. I looked down and saw the wreckage below me. My car, a twisted heap of steel and broken glass. My body was still inside, slumped against the seat, motionless. Blood trailed from a gash on my forehead, a vivid streak of red against the pale gray of my skin. But I wasn't in it. I was floating, suspended above the scene like a balloon tethered to a fragile string. The first thing I noticed was the absence of pain. My body below was broken, battered, but I felt free, light, as if I had shed a heavy coat I hadn't even realized I was wearing. I should have been terrified. I should have been screaming. But I wasn't. There was no fear, no panic, only a deep, overwhelming peace. It wrapped around me like a warm blanket, soothing every frayed nerve, every jagged thought. Below, people were running toward my car. A man was dialing 911, his voice urgent and strained. A woman knelt beside the wreckage, pressing her hands to my arm, her lips moving as if she were praying or pleading. I wanted to tell them it was okay, that I wasn't hurting anymore, but they couldn't see me. They didn't even know I was there. Then I felt it. A pull, gentle but insistent, like an invisible thread tugging at me. I turned and saw it, a light. It wasn't like any light I had ever seen. It wasn't just bright. It was alive, warm, radiant. It shimmered with colors I didn't have words for, hues that seemed to dance and shift like waves on the ocean. The light called to me not with words but with a feeling, a soft, loving whisper that beckoned me closer. I let it take me. As I moved toward the light, the world around me seemed to dissolve. The wreckage, the people, the noise, all of it faded away, replaced by a serene, otherworldly stillness. It was as if I had stepped into a space that existed outside of time, a place where everything and nothing existed all at once. And then I saw him. A figure emerged from the light, stepping forward with a grace and presence that were unlike anything I had ever known. He was tall, clothed in pure white that shimmered like sunlight on water. His face glowed not with brightness but with love itself, deep, infinite, and overwhelming. His eyes met mine, and in that instant I knew who he was. Jesus. The realization hit me like a wave, a surge of awe and reverence so powerful that it left me breathless. I fell to my knees not out of fear, but because I was in the presence of something so profoundly good, so pure, that I felt unworthy to stand before him. "Welcome, Emily," he said, his voice rich and warm, like the sound of 1,000 peaceful waves lapping against the shore. His words were not just heard, they were felt, resonating deep within me. Tears streamed down my face. "Why?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "Why am I here?" Jesus smiled, a smile that radiated compassion and understanding. "Because I want you to know the truth," he said. The truth. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I stood before him, my heart pounding, waiting for an answer. Jesus gazed at me with eyes that seemed to see every part of me, my fears, my doubts, my mistakes, and my hopes. "Emily, the purpose of life has always been simple," he said. "To know God, to love Him, to share His love, to grow in faith and become more like me each day." His words sank into me like seeds planted in fertile soil, each one taking root in my soul. Thought about my life. Had I truly known God? Had I really loved Him the way He deserved? I had prayed, yes. I had gone to church when I could. But had I truly lived my life with that purpose? Tears welled in my eyes. "I don't think I did enough," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. Jesus stepped closer, his presence radiating warmth and comfort. "Emily, everyone has a special purpose and a divine plan. You were fulfilling yours even when you didn't realize it." I shook my head, the weight of my past pressing against me. "I made so many mistakes," I said, the words spilling out like a confession. "I doubted. I lost my way. I was selfish at times. I should have been better." Jesus knelt beside me, his hand resting gently on my shoulder. "Making mistakes is part of the journey," he said softly. "What matters is that you learn from them and strive to be better. That's why I came, to show you the way." He lifted my chin, and suddenly I could see my life spread out before me, not just the mistakes but the moments that mattered. The times I had comforted a grieving patient, the times I had spoken words of kindness, the times I had shown love even when it was difficult. I had been so focused on my failures that I hadn't seen the ways in which I had lived out God's purpose all along. Jesus held out his hand. "Emily, your time here is not yet finished." I blinked, confusion and sorrow washing over me. "You mean, I have to go back?" "Yes," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "You still have work to do." I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to return to a world of pain and suffering, to a life that suddenly felt so small compared to the peace and love of this place. But I knew he was right. I had been given a gift, a second chance. I looked up at him, my heart aching. "Will I remember all of this?" Jesus smiled, a smile that carried the weight of eternity. "Not in full," he said, "but you will carry it." Jesus smiled, a smile that carried the weight of eternity. "Not in full," he said, "but you will carry it in your heart. When you quiet your mind and listen closely, you will hear my voice. You will remember the peace, the love, and the truth of your purpose. That will be enough to guide you, tears blurred my vision as a bittersweet ache settled in my chest. I didn't want to leave this place where love was tangible, where the air itself seemed to hum with the rhythm of eternity. Yet, in the deepest part of me, I knew he was right. My journey wasn't over. Will it be difficult? I asked, my voice trembling. Jesus placed his hand over my heart, and a warmth unlike anything I'd ever known spread through me. Yes, he said softly. Life is rarely easy, but you will never face it alone. I will always be with you, Emily. In every moment of doubt, in every trial, in every joy, you will find me there. The weight of his words filled me with a quiet strength. I nodded, though a part of me wanted to stay frozen in this moment forever. Thank you, I whispered. Jesus extended his hand one last time, his eyes filled with love and understanding. Go now, Emily. Live with purpose. Love deeply. Give freely. And always remember, you are never alone. The peace, the light, the warmth, they all disappeared in an instant. It felt like being pulled through a tunnel, faster than light, faster than thought itself. And then, abruptly, I was back. A searing pain jolted me awake. My chest heaved as I gasped for air, the sound of my breath ragged and loud in my ears. My body screamed in protest, every muscle, every bone, every nerve alight with agony. I blinked against the harsh light and saw blurry shapes moving around me. Paramedics. I was lying on a stretcher, the cold metal pressing against my back. She's back, someone shouted. I could hear the sirens wailing in the distance, feel the chill of the rain-soaked air against my skin. Everything felt sharp, vivid, overwhelming. My body ached in ways I didn't know it could, but inside I felt something new, a quiet, unshakable resolve. As the paramedics worked to stabilize me, memories of the other side flickered like a dream I was already forgetting. The light, Jesus, his voice, they felt just out of reach, like trying to hold on to water slipping through my fingers. But the feeling, the overwhelming peace, the love that had wrapped around me like a cocoon, remained. It was etched into my soul, an indelible mark I knew would never fade. Recovery was slow. The physical wounds healed with time, but the emotional and spiritual transformation had only just begun. I found myself seeing the world through different eyes. Colors seemed brighter, sounds richer, the smallest details bursting with meaning. I had been given a second chance and I wasn't going to waste it. At first, I struggled to make sense of what had happened. How could I explain to others what I had seen, what I had felt? Would they believe me? Would they think I was crazy? I wrestled with these questions late into the night, staring at the ceiling of my hospital room, trying to reconcile the extraordinary experience with the ordinary world I now found myself in. But then I remembered Jesus' words, live with purpose, love deeply, give freely. That was what mattered. Not whether others believed me, but whether I used the second chance to make a difference. When I was strong enough to return to work, I carried the lessons of my journey with me. As a nurse, I had always cared for my patients, but now I cared in a deeper way. I didn't just treat their symptoms. I listened to their fears, held their hands, prayed for their healing. I saw each person not as a chart or a diagnosis, but as a soul, precious and unique. Beyond work, I reconnected with the people I had drifted away from. I called my family more often, visited friends I hadn't seen in years. I forgave old grudges, let go of petty resentments, and sought forgiveness for my own mistakes. Every act of love, no matter how small, felt like a way to honor the gift I had been given. Even as life returned to its usual rhythm, I never forgot the quiet voice that guided me. In moments of doubt, I would pause, close my eyes, and listen. Sometimes it came as a whisper, a nudge in my heart. Other times, it was a memory of that radiant light, a reminder of the overwhelming love I had felt on the other side. The world could be harsh and unkind, but I carried a peace within me that couldn't be shaken. It wasn't that I never faced challenges, I did. There were days when I felt tired and defeated, days when I questioned if I was doing enough. But in those moments, I remembered Jesus' words, "You will never face it alone." And I didn't. In every smile, every act of kindness, every connection with another human being, I felt his presence. It was subtle, like the warmth of the sun on your skin, but it was always there. Years passed, and life unfolded in ways I could never have imagined. I became an advocate for kindness and compassion, not just in my work but in every aspect of my life. I spoke to groups about the importance of living with purpose, of loving without reservation. I shared my story not to convince anyone but to inspire hope. The day finally came when my time on earth truly ended. But this time I wasn't afraid. I knew what waited for me on the other side. And as I closed my eyes for the last time, I felt the light surround me once more, pulling me home. I knew I had fulfilled my purpose,